The Fairy Flute. Chapter 1. Consolation. You may be very ugly and freckledy and small and have a little stubby nose that's not a nose at all. You may be bad at spelling and you may be worse at sums. You may have stupid fingers that your Nana says are thumbs. And lots of things you look for you may never find. But if you love the fairies, you don't mind. You may be rather frightened when you read of wolves and bears, or when you pass the cupboard place beneath the attic stairs. You may not always like it when thunder makes a noise that seems so much bigger than little girls and boys. You may feel rather lonely when you waken in the night. But if the fairies love you, it's all right. Chapter 2. If you meet a fairy. If you meet a fairy, don't run away. She won't want to hurt you. She'll only want to play. Show her round the garden, round the house too. She'll want to see the kitchen. I know they always do. Find a tiny present to give her when she goes. They love silver paper and little ribbon bows. I knew a little girl once who saw 23 playing in the orchard as jolly as could be. They asked her to dance with them to make it 24. She ran to the nursery and hid behind the door, hid behind the nursery door. What a thing to do! She grew up very solemn and rather ugly too. If you meet a fairy, remember what I say. Talk to her nicely and don't run away. Chapter 3. Fairy Lore. Fairies learn to dance before they learn to walk. Fairies learn to sing before they learn to talk. Fairies learn their counting from the cuckoo's call. They do not learn geography at all. Fairies go a-riding with witches on their brooms and steal away the rainbows to brighten up their rooms. Fairies like a sky dance better than a feast. They have a birthday once a week at least. Fairies think the rain is pretty as the sun. Fairies think that trespass boards are only made for fun. Fairies think that peppermint's the nicest thing they know. I always take a packet when I go. Chapter 4. Every fairy has a star. Every fairy has a star where all her tiny treasures are, and there her faithful gnome, as soon as she goes out at night against the window, sets a light to guide his lady home. And at the open door he stands and waves his little twinkling hands as down to earth she goes, then sits and waits the long night through, and sometimes sings a song or two, and sometimes has a doze. But at the earliest crow of cock, back to the sky the fairies flock, and at their doors they stand and knock. The air is keen and chill. They do not wait to see the sun. Straight to their little beds they run. The stars are darkened one by one, and all the sky is still. Chapter 5. The Fairy Lover. You walk in your orchard, you sit in your bower, mid plentiful treasure of fruit and of flower. But you shall have pleasaunces brighter than these, with magical blossoms and magical trees. Your train is of damask, rich fold upon fold. Your gown is of crimson, your shoes are of gold. But a mantle of rainbows shall wrap you about, be sprinkled with stardust within and without. Your ladies in waiting are gracious and fair, and a little page stands by the side of your chair. But an army of goblins shall do your behest, and fly at your bidding to east and to west. You shall sit on a cushion of velvety moss, embroidered with sunbeams across and across, and a grasshopper chorus shall make you good cheer or charm you with delicate lullabies, dear. I will tap at your window some moon-silvered night. And when you lean down through the jessamine white, my fairy swift wings I shall softly unfurl and bear you away to my palace of pearl. Chapter 6. The Fairy Tailor. Sitting on the flower bed beneath the hollyhocks, I spied the tiny tailor who makes the fairies' frocks. There he sat a-stitching all the afternoon and sang a little ditty to a quaint wee tune. Gray for the goblins, blue for the elves, brown for the little gnomes that live by themselves, white for the pixies that dance upon the green. But where shall I find me a robe for the queen? All about the garden his little men he sent, up and down and in and out unceasingly they went. Here they stole a blossom, there they pulled a leaf, and bound them up with gossamer into a glowing sheaf. Petals of the pansy for little velvet shoon, silk of the poppy for a dance beneath the moon, lawn of the jessamine, damask of the rose, to make their pretty kirtles and airy furbelows. Never roving pirates back from southern seas brought a store of treasures home, beautiful as thee. They heaped them all about him in a sweet gay pile, but still he kept a-stitching and a-singing all the while. Gray for the goblins, blue for the elves, brown for the little gnomes that live by themselves, white for the pixies that dance on the green. But who shall make a royal gown to deck the fairy queen? Chapter 7. At Dawn. Though the fairies meet by night in the moonlit spaces, often in the morning light you will see their traces. If you rise at early dawn, when the birds are waking, you may find upon the lawn tents of fairy making. In the meadows here and there, where the soft wind passes, elfin lines of gossamer stretch between the grasses. And if you will look about soon, you will discover fairy washing hanging out all among the clover. In the quiet woods you might, if your ways be wary, even hope to get a sight of a little fairy on a lily leaf. Perchance, broad and smooth and level, practicing her tiny dance for the evening revel. Chapter 8. The Green Loch. Far in the hills the green loch lies, its constant emerald mocks at the skies. Though they be garment gray or blue, never the green loch changes hue. For at earliest dawn, when the winds are still, over the brow of the western hill, the fairies come in a happy throng, with elfin laughter and elfin song, trooping down to the waterside to bathe in its cool enchanted tide. Over and under they flash about, they race with the shy little silver trout, they twist and tumble and dart and dive, till all the lake is alight and alive, and glows with a tremulous, sparkling sheen, like the jeweled robe of an eastern queen. But ere the morning has well begun, they all come leaping forth to the sun. They hang for a shimmering moment there, shaking their curls in the warm, bright air, while the water drops from their delicate wings and dapples the lake with quivering rings, then rise like thistledown over the trees and float away on the heather-sweet breeze. They leave not a sign, they leave not a trace. A slumberous calm lies over the place. Only the green, green waters bide to tell the secret they never can hide. Chapter 9. The Skylark. Of all the birds, the fairies love the skylark much the best. They come with little fairy gifts to seek his hidden nest. They praise his tiny, slender feet and silken suit of brown, and with their gentle hands they smooth his feathers softly down. They cluster round with glowing cheeks and bright expectant eyes, waiting the moment that shall bring the freedom of the skies. waiting the double sweet delight that only he can give. Oh, kings might surely spurn their crowns to live as fairies live, to ride upon a skylark's back between his happy wings, to float upon the edge of heaven and listen while he sings. The dreams of mortals scarce can touch so perfected a bliss, and even fairies could not know a greater joy than this. Chapter 10. In Bond Street. Upon her little velvet hat a silken tassel hung, and to the very end of that a tiny fairy clung. Among her curls he bobbed about, and played at hide-and-seek with every dimple that came out upon her chin or cheek. This is a common sight, perchance for Londoners to see. It seemed to draw no curious glance from anyone but me. Along the street I watched her go, serenely unaware, and still he tumbled to and fro. It seemed so strange she should not know, among her golden hair. Chapter 11. Timothy. My cat Timothy, who has such lovely eyes, is really not a cat at all. It's only a disguise. A witch cast a spell on him a long time since and changed him to a pussy cat. But once he was a prince. On warm, clear nights when a big moon is out, he steps into the garden and never turns about, but walks down the path with his quiet, proud air. He knows that the fairies are waiting out there. The fairies go a-dancing in a ring. He sits in the middle with a crown like a king, high on a throne in the middle of the grass, and the fairies stop capering to curtsy as they pass. Some day, when the spell is done, he will be a prince again. Won't that be fun? He will come to seek me and kiss my lily hand, and take me on his foaming steed to reign in fairyland. Chapter 12. Fairy Lullaby for a Mortal. Sleep, oh sleep, for the night is still. The friendly moon peers over the hill, cradled soft on the bosom of night. Smiling, she scatters her wistful light where fairy lovers their trystings keep. But the children of men must sleep, sleep, oh sleep, for your days are long. The stars shall sing you a slumber song clear and bright as their silver flames, all made up of their own sweet names, falling softly from star to star, Mira, Murfid, and Aladfar. Sleep, oh sleep, with never a sound, we will circle mazily round and around. We will wrap you close in a web of dreams, shot with delicate fairy gleams. With our soft, soft wings, we will brush away the sorrowful darkness that comes with the day. Sleep, oh sleep, for the night grows late. Over the hill our comrades wait. How can we go when the gifts we brought for all our loving have served you not? How can we leave you and know you weep? Will you not hush you and smile and sleep? Chapter 13. The Canary. He used to be a fairy once, a little singing fairy. He would not work, he would not play, he only sat and sang all day. So now he's a canary. They sent him out of fairyland, they sent him here to me. The day that I was 6 years old, his little house of shining gold hangs in the nursery. He's taught me lots of lovely things I never should have guessed. He's told me what they say and do. They all have wings, it's really true, and how the queen is dressed. He flits about the house at night, a little lonely fairy, but nobody is there to see, and no one knows, excepting me. He's not a real canary. Chapter 14. Rainy Morning. As I was walking in the rain, I met a fairy down a lane. We walked along the road together. I soon forgot about the weather. He told me lots of lovely things, the story that the robin sings. and where the rabbits go to school, and how to know a fairy pool, and what to say and what to do if bogles ever bother you. The flowers peeped from hedgy places and shook the raindrops from their faces, and furry creatures all the way came popping out and said, "Good day." But when we reached the little bend, just where the village houses end, he seemed to slip into the ground, and when I looked about, I found the rain was suddenly all over, and the sun shining on the clover. Chapter 15. This is the way the fairies sing. This is the way the fairies sing. They all stand round in a shining ring on quiet nights when the moon is high, and lift their faces up to the sky. They read the music out of the stars. There aren't any notes, and there aren't any bars. And sweet their song as the clover flower, and soft it is as a summer shower, and gay as leaves that the June airs shake, and sad as the mist on an autumn lake. None shall light on a lovelier thing than the magical song that the fairies sing. This is the way the fairies dance. They point their toes, and they leap and prance over and under and round, now in the air and now on the ground, in a shimmering, glimmering, moonlit maze, to a wonderful music that nobody plays. And swift their dance as the coming of spring, and light as the touch of a butterfly's wing, and strange as the gleams in a stormy sky, and changing bright as the peacock's dye. Oh, lucky are you if you get the chance to learn the way that the fairies dance. Chapter 16. The Fairy Ball. I am asked to the ball tonight. What shall I wear, for I must look right? Search in the fields for a lady smock. Where could you find you a prettier frock? I am asked to the ball tonight. What shall I do for my jewels bright? Trouble you not for a brooch or a ring. A daisy chain is the properest thing. I am asked to the ball tonight. What shall I do if I shake with fright? When you are there, you will understand that no one is frightened in fairyland. Chapter 17. Useful Hints. Fairy flannel is the skin of peaches. Fairy brushes are the nuts of beeches. Velvet bulrushes are fairy pillows. Fairy muffs are made of pussy willows. Chapter 18. The Fairy Flute. My brother has a little flute of gold and ivory. He found it on a summer night within a hollow tree. He plays it every morning and every afternoon, and all the little singing birds listen to the tune. He plays it in the meadows, and everywhere he walks the flowers start a-nodding and dancing on their stalks. He plays it in the village, and all along the street the people stop to listen. The music is so sweet, and none but he can play it, and none can understand, because it is a fairy flute and comes from fairyland. Chapter 19. The Apple Tree. I stood beneath the apple tree. The apples were so good to see. Very high above my head I saw them shining round and red. A robin sang a tiny song, and after I had waited long, a fairy in the apple tree threw an apple down to me. Chapter 20. A Strange Pair. The witch that lives in the wood, is not very pretty and not very good. Her face is brown and her eyes are black. A fierce old pussy cat sits on her back, with a sharp thin tail sticking up like a spire, while her mistress crouches over the fire, be the day cold or be the day hot, watching her strange little bubbling pot. The goblin-y dwarf that lives on the hill, he lies in the heather so still. so still. But on big dark nights, when there isn't a moon, he puts on his cloak and his dancing shoon and runs along like a soft, shy mouse till he comes to the door of the witch's house. "Ho!" he cries, "it is junketing weather." And off they go on the spree together, off they go on the tail of the wind. The great black pussy cat sails behind. Haven't you heard them banging about? Haven't you heard them whistle and shout? Haven't you seen them now and again peering in at the window pane? Oh, but I tell you it's better to hide when the witch and the goblin are out for a ride. Chapter 21. The Willow Princesses. The tall princesses in the willow tree, they move their lazy, lovely heads about. They wave their arms, their hair goes streaming out, their rustling dresses shimmer like the sea. But presently they cease to sway and swing and stand quite still and whisper gentle words, quietly calling to the little birds to perch upon their pretty hands and sing. Chapter 22. A Visitor. I heard a little tiny noise behind the cupboard door, and something soft and small and quick flashed right across the floor. The day had very nearly gone, and I could hardly see. I do so wish that it would come again to visit me. The whole day long I've looked and looked and looked about the house. I think it was a fairy. Nurse thinks it was a mouse. Chapter 23. The Little Prince. My mother is a queen, and my father is a king, and I have a garden with pretty birds that sing, where pansies and marigolds and hollyhocks grow, and 4 little apple trees planted in a row. My father is a king, and my mother is a queen. And I have a little page dressed all in green, a treasure mine in Barbary, an orange grove in Spain, and a little brown monkey on a long gold chain. Chapter 24. Temper. Blow out the light. They said. She got to the very last page. Blow out the light. They said. It's dreadfully wicked to read in bed. Her eyes grew black, and her face grew red, and she blew in a terrible rage. She put out the moon. She did. So frightfully hard she blew. She put out the moon. She did. Over the sky the darkness slid. The stars all scuttled away and hid. A very wise thing to do. But please don't whisper the tale about. She'd get into trouble, she would. Please don't whisper the tale about. If anyone else should ever find out, she'd get into trouble without a doubt. And now she's ever so good. Chapter 25. Best. I like to wear my party frock that Auntie bought in town, my patent shoes with shiny toes, my Sunday hat with little bows and ribbons hanging down. I like to hear the people say, "How pretty Nancy looks today." But Daddy shakes his head and says, "You'll make her very vain." And Granny says, "She should be dressed in everything that's of the best, but rather neat and plain." And Mother says, "My goodness me, who can this lovely lady be?" Chapter 26. What I Shall Be. I shall be a lady, as pretty as you please, and I shall have a garden with lots of flowers and trees, a pretty little kitchen with rows of shining pots, a hothouse full of peaches, and a nursery full of cots. Chapter 27. Sometimes. Some days are fairy days. The minute that you wake, you have a magic feeling that you never could mistake. You may not see the fairies, but you know that they're about. At any single minute, they might all come popping out. You want to laugh? You want to sing, you want to dance and run. Everything is different, everything is fun. The sky is full of fairy clouds, the streets are fairy ways. Anything might happen on truly fairy days. Some nights are fairy nights. Before you go to bed, you hear their darling music go chiming in your head. You look into the garden, and through the misty gray you see the trees all waiting in a breathless kind of way. All the stars are smiling. They know that very soon the fairies will come singing from the land behind the moon. If only you could keep awake when Nurse puts out the light, anything might happen on a truly fairy night. Chapter 28. Prepare. Bunny, bunny, smooth your fur, wash your little face. Dormouse, wake you up and stir, lest you lose your place. Hasten, squirrel, don't be shy. The queen is coming by. Linnets, wrens, be ready, please. With your sweetest notes, perch among the waiting trees. Tune your tiny throats. Skylark, won't you leave the sky? The queen is coming by. Goblins, stop your naughty tricks. Hold yourselves in wait. Witches, raise your besom sticks for an arch of state. Quickly, fairies, hither fly. The queen is coming by. Chapter 29. A Voyage. They took me out a-sailing. The boat was made of glass. We sailed upon the little clouds. The stars came out in shining crowds, so thick we scarce could pass. But featherlight, through all the night about the sky we sped. There were no oars with which to row. There was no tiniest wind to blow, though all the sails were spread.